The Israeli army says its goal is the destruction of Hamas, but more specifically, it's hunting the leaders of the militant organization. Khan Younis is the home of Hamas's Gaza chief, Yaya Sinwar, and although he has not been seen publicly since the beginning of the war, Israel believes he is hiding somewhere in the city.
The house of Sinwar is in the area of Khan Younis. You have terror infrastructure and command centers there. Sinwar is not above ground, he's underground. I don't want to elaborate where and how and what we know in terms of intelligence. This is not the place to talk about such things in the media. Our job is to find Sinwar and kill him.
All right, let's get more on this. I'm joined by Hans-Jakob Schindler, Senior Director of the Counter-Extremism Project. Mr. Schindler, Israel wants to find and kill Yaya Sinwar. Can it?
Of course, this is an extraordinary difficult endeavor because there is this still functioning underground system, in particular in the southern half of Gaza. But Sinwar really is the key leader to get here. He was, from the very beginning, part of setting up the terrorist structure of Hamas from 1988 onwards. He was also the founder of the Gaza Hamas intelligence organization that hunts what they call collaborators, those who cooperate with Israel and executes them. So it's really an important target to take out.
Yaya Sinwar is also said to have masterminded the October 7th terror attack in Israel. Can you tell us a bit more about what we do know about him?
Well, he was born in Khan Younis in 1962. He joined Hamas from the very beginning. As I said, he was the one who set up the terrorist infrastructure. He's a hardliner, if you can say that, within a terrorist organization, who always argued for taking hostages to exchange for Palestinian prisoners. He's the one who really strongly argued when he came up to the leadership in 2017 for a stronger relationship with Iran and to really build Hamas's ability not only to conduct smaller scale terror attacks in Israel, but what we have seen in October 7th. So he really is the brains behind all of this. And in his 22 years that he spent in Israeli prisons before he was exchanged in 2011 as part of the Gilad Shalit deal, he also seemed to have learned Hebrew. And he, according to many of the hostages that actually talked to him in their captivity, speaks fluent Hebrew.
And Israel wants to find and kill this man. You called it an extraordinarily difficult operation. We are talking about Khan Younis, which is a stronghold of Hamas. Surely Hamas is ready and waiting for Israeli troops and Israeli operations. How likely is it, I ask you again, that Israel will even be able to catch him?
Well, it's not a 100% guarantee because there's, of course, also tunnels that stretch into the Sinai, which means there is a possibility for individuals to leave clandestinely Gaza. However, if Israel is going to do in the south what they've done in the north, i.e. create a cordon of military control around the borders of Gaza, then escaping through those tunnels is going to be very difficult for Mr. Sinwar. He will definitely try. His survival is key for Hamas, so they will do whatever they can to prevent the Israelis from killing or capturing him.
So if his survival is key for Hamas, if Israel were to find and kill Sinwar, would that spell the end of Hamas in Gaza?
It wouldn't spell the end of Hamas, but to replace a leader that has been key to the terrorist operations from the onset of the establishment of the group is going to be very difficult. And it is going to take a long time to get someone again with this kind of experience on how to do terrorism back, not only in the organization, but also back into Gaza. So taking him out is really a valuable target here.
You know, but this argument about replacing an experienced leader, this has been made in the past decades, ever since the late 80s when Hamas was set up. Yet Hamas continues, and now it is de facto in government in the Gaza Strip. Surely Hamas has other leaders that are waiting.
Absolutely. So here is the key difference. So Hamas as an ongoing concern and Hamas as a major threat to Israel. So what the military operations can definitely achieve is to set back Hamas's ability from the Gaza Strip to threaten Israel in any way, shape, or form on the size that it did in October 7th. However, eradicating Hamas as an ongoing terrorist group and concern will take a much longer task. Of course, as Al-Qaeda, as the Islamic State have done, once they were militarily defeated in Afghanistan and in Iraq and Syria, is they simply devolved into a networked organization with smaller scale terror attacks. This is, of course, then a very long-term endeavor and will require more than just military operations, international cooperation, but also social economic development in the Palestinian territories.
Do you want to hazard a guess as to how long it will take? And the reason I ask this is because the head of Israel's domestic intelligence agency wants to eliminate Hamas entirely, including in the region. What is the time frame we are looking at, and is that even possible?
Well, I mean, there's a military timeline and then there's a political timeline for Israel right now. And it seems very clear that Israel has a couple of weeks, maybe a month or two left for its military operations in Gaza before international pressure becomes too heavy for it to continue any major military operations. That doesn't mean that everything is going to stop, but not on the scale that we're seeing right now. So this is the timeline that Israel has to destroy as much as possible the tunnel system, find weapons dumps, destroy the rocket launching facilities, and then starts the really long-term work on eradicating Hamas's ideology. And for that, Israel cannot do this alone. It needs international cooperation.
We'll leave it there for the time being. Thanks so much for joining us today. Hans-Jakob Schindler, Senior Director of the Counter-Extremism Project. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mark.
And here's a quick look now at some other stories from around the world. A Reuters investigation into the death of one of its journalists in Lebanon on the 13th of October has concluded that he was killed by an Israeli tank shell. 6 other reporters were wounded in the incident a kilometer from the Israeli border. Reuters assessed multiple video sources and other evidence from the scene.